Multi-tenant solutions on SAP BTP. What kind of solutions are that? BTP already comes with multi-tenancy, right? What if you are an SAP partner and you want to build solutions that can be used by multiple customers? Today, we're going to explore just that. Multi-tenant solutions on SAP Business Technology Platform. I'm really happy to welcome today's heroes.
Who are today's heroes?
Geert-Jan Klaps, SAP Innovation Architect at the Value Chain and SAP Mentor. And David Jacobs, Partner and Director of Products at the Value Chain. Heroes of today. Welcome to the HANA Café. And on the fly, we will probably touch an SAP build topic, Sapphire, SAP TechEd, maybe an inside track. There is enough to talk about. But if you have any questions, just drop us a question in the live stream from YouTube or later on if you are watching this later in the YouTube comments or at LinkedIn. Welcome at HANA Café, the Netherlands.
HANA Café Nederland is your one-stop shop for all things SAP. Grab yourself a coffee or tea and join regulars Jan Penninkhof,
Goedemiddag,
and Twan van the Broek,
that's me,
with our guests as they chat about latest developments, innovations, events, or simply catch up. Let's head inside.
Ja, welkom Jan.
Ja.
Almost forgot you.
En jij ook, Twan.
Dankjewel.
It sounded like the Jedi's were walking into the room.
The who?
The Jedi's of Star Wars.
Yeah, did they?
No, it sounded like it.
Okay. This is the why?
With the background music.
Okay. Oh, the heroes. Yeah.
Jedi's. Yeah.
I think it's the first time now that we all have SAP gear at wearing SAP gear. So we have, of course, the SAP Champions gear, but then SAP Mentor and SAP Builder.
Yeah, that was a present, not a title.
Okay. Yeah, but welcome, David. Welcome, Geert-Jan.
Thanks for
Nice for you to show up and talk about SAP BTP. I think it's a passion of all the four of us. So we opened with multi-tenant solutions. I know that's something that you are working passionately on. Maybe you can explain what a multi-tenant solution is.
Well, in essence, a multi-tenant solution is basically a solution centrally hosted on, in our case, BTP, that we basically connect multiple customers on with strict tenant isolation. So there's no potential leakage of data between multiple customers, although it's still one single application.
Yeah. And the big difference is, I guess, that with BTP solutions, you usually go to a customer and implement a solution on their BTP environment. And now it's the value chain environment, and you host the solution for multiple customers.
Exactly. That really improves maintenance for us as a partner, because, for example, if something has to change, a new feature, or in a worst case, a bug needs to be fixed, we can just roll it out centrally without actually having to roll it out at each of our customers. So once we get, for example, at a number of 100 customers, it's just a push of the button, live, and the customers won't even notice that we are rolling out new features.
That's your goal, hundreds of customers.
Absolutely. That's
course.
the idea.
Yeah. So maybe, David, why did you decide to build those kind of solutions?
I think for the time that the value chain exists, it's always been in our heads. But the last years, SAP also changed the strategy to a cloud-first fit-to-standard approach. We see that very clearly in the Grow implementations that we do. What does it mean? Actually, that the throughput time of a project is drastically reduced. So we were checking, okay, what can be the value that we bring next to the fit-to-standard, because that's basically every partner can do that. And then we started thinking about what did we already do at customers that can be reused. And that's how the idea started, actually. And then thanks to SAP also, the coaching that they did and the inspiration tour a few years ago, we started putting the idea into practice. And now we see our value as a partner, as a consulting partner with assets. So where do we make the difference is by creating value on top of the standard functionalities of SAP, and having a 100% end-to-end process for our customers. So that's why actually we started creating solutions.
Hence the company name, The Value Chain.
Absolutely.
Maybe can you describe your company? we dived exactly into the deep into the solution, but maybe explain what the value chain is.
Yes. So Value Chain is SAP implementation company. We've been existing now for 13 years, I think, 14 already. Sorry that I missed 1 year, but it doesn't matter. So we are present in different countries. So we are present in Belgium, in the Netherlands, Luxembourg, France and Switzerland. And our goal, our core activity is mainly implementation of SAP solutions. Next to this, a year and a half ago approximately, we started with our separate product units where we really focus on product development. Numbers of the value chain, approximately 450 consultants over the group, and more than 100 active customers, both in support, implementation, and products. Since this year, we have more than 20 customers already.
Yeah, because I think it's different. So if there are a lot of SAP partners that provide SAP consultancy, but doing products is a total different sports game.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was internally also a challenge for us, because a project is a project, a product is a product. So you have a completely different development track, actually, different operations, and also the way we bring it to the customer is completely different. So you don't have a project, a throughput time, actually, and that's our goal. And maybe Geert-Jan can clarify that, the go-live experience and the timing.
Due to the fact that we use BTP and that we mainly use released APIs today, we have a setup time of less than a day. So it's really like all our solutions are plug and play.
Okay, listen. So if I am a customer and I'm interested in the solution, then it's you contact you, and then within a day,
we create a sub account for you. We create a subscription to our solution. We set up the connection towards your system, and you're basically up and running.
all right.
So I need my own BTP account as well.
No, that's
You don't need to.
when it comes to BTP and partner multi-tenant solutions, it's like SAP still doesn't allow a partner to expose a solution outside of their own global account. So for each customer, we technically set up a sub-account within our own global account, and then we just connect the identity provider of the customer so they can manage all the authorizations centrally themselves. And we set up the destinations towards the systems, and you're basically up and running.
Yeah.
And then the sub-account subscribes to your application.
Exactly.
But it has its own identity and its own possibility to connect to, for instance, your on-premise systems.
Yeah.
Things like, because most of the times integration is a thing as well, of course.
Well, the thing for our multi-tenant solutions, we have the option to either connect directly to the system, so point to point, basically, directly calling the APIs for S/4HANA Cloud, for example. We also allow for customers that have, for example, integration suite and want to use or enforce the usage of API management, we can perfectly facilitate that as well. So we can basically plug and play on any type of API, whether it's API managed or it's the direct API of the backend system.
Oh, that's cool. And then most of those type of applications, they also host data themselves. They have a certain persistency built in. Then if you look at this sub-account and your account, your basically sub-account where you're hosting this application, where's this data residing? Is it in the sub-account of the customer, or is it in your sub-account?
Well, it's actually from a technical point of view, you have one sub-account that they typically call the provider sub-account, where the actual application is running. And then you have, for example, in that provider account, a HANA database instance. And what happens technically when you create a subscription, there is a isolated HDI container that's created in that HANA database for that specific subscription to that application. So the data is in one single database for all of our customers, but they have strictly isolated data persistency due to the fact that it's using a HDI container.
Right. And things like other services, things like, for instance, if you would connect not sure if your applications do that, but if you would connect things like document information extraction, or if you use things like object storage.
Yeah, there you have the principle of basically exposing that underlying service as a dependency to your multi-tenant solution. And what happens when you basically create that subscription, it also creates a shadow-like instance for that specific subscription, so the data for these services are also strictly isolated.
Right. Okay. And what about your connection to your own S4 environment then? Because you mentioned most of those applications are connecting to S4. How does that work?
That's actually the beauty of BTP as such. You have two places where you can can connect towards systems. So you can set up destinations on the level of the provider account, which potentially are connections that that are not isolated or not needed to be isolated. But you can also access the destinations on the subscriber sub-account. So these are the sub-accounts where the subscriptions reside for that specific customer. So what happens? We create a subscription and we create the destination specifically for that customer in that sub-account.
So it's on a sub-account level where you connect basically to your S4 environment. So
Exactly.
if a customer likes, he can maintain the connection to his S4 environment himself.
Yeah.
Right? Is this part of that one day that you mentioned, or is it...
Today, I think...
It's the other 3 weeks.
In an ideal situation, our solutions could be exposed outside of our global account, so that we could say, dear customer, we allow you to use our solution. You can create your own subscriptions, and we have a guide. You can set up things yourself, and we don't have to be involved anymore.
Then it acts as one of the BTP services.
Yeah,
that you
exactly.
subscribe to.
You, for example, would subscribe to Integration Suite, for example. Today, that's not an option, so we always have to do some manual work, and we have to create that sub-account. And today, we manage that for our customers. In an ideal situation, in the future, this will be something that changes and can.
Is that something that's missing on BTP? That's functionality that you like to see on BTP?
Definitely. I think maybe in the future, even if we create that sub-account, we can give the customer access to that sub-account. But today we don't do it because we like to keep things under control within our own global account.
But since you are an SAP mentor, you can directly ask Michael to make sure that it's on the backlog, right?
It's already on the checklist.
It's already on the checklist. Okay, cool.
But cloud automation would also help, of course.
Yeah, we're actually looking into, for example, Terraform to automate the onboarding of new customers, so we can automatically create this sub-account. But unfortunately, also there's a slightly missing functionality. Subscriptions using a Terraform provider, creating subscriptions is only possible with standard SAP multi-tenant solutions. Partner solutions are not supported yet.
There must be a difference, right?
Okay.
Otherwise, you'll just take over.
It must be on the backlog. Yeah.
How many of these type of applications do you already have?
Today we have 3 SaaS solutions.
Uh-huh.
So the first one was released last year, a partner portal, which is built on Sales and Service Cloud and S4HANA Public Clouds today. Then we have the supplier invoice management, which has been released in January this year. And we have the integration and business process monitor, which is actually an extension on SAP Integration Suite that also has been released this year.
Yeah, that's an interesting one, because earlier we had Jan and Mark in our podcast to talk on the integration. They brought in this use case for a customer that they built this monitoring layer, but it was on-premise, it was at the customer. But now you SaaS'd that solution, right?
Exactly. And that's the big advantage. Mark is actually the creator and the thinker, or how do you call it, of the solution. So we really created it. They developed it together with Jan and a few other colleagues in an on-prem mode. So there have been a lot of customers using that application, but we saw from a maintenance point of view that it was not really maintainable regarding new features, etc. So every solution started to live its own life, actually. And that's why we decided last year, actually, in May, I think, if I'm not wrong, to make it as a SaaS multi-tenant solution. And actually, it's really something that today fills in some gaps on Integration Suite and Cloud ILM, and also brings extra functionality. I will just name one, but it's a very important one. Technical integration error handling. So it's technical today, but we have a toolkit which is displayed in our SaaS solutions that makes a technical error, an integration error, functionally understandable. So
that is already amazing, because sometimes the technical details are really confusing, and if you can make that functional, that helps in solving issues faster.
Absolutely, and I think that's also one of the reasons why the solution it sells really good, but we have customers live, and it also works really good. So that's an advantage, of course.
And was it difficult for you to take the on-premise application and to turn it into a SaaS solution?
There I will more ask later the feedback of Geert-Jan, but one thing I also want to mention in having a product company, so to speak, is that you need to have the best possible developers on your products, because it's really important to think about the architecture, how you design it, how you develop it. And then I'm looking at Geert-Jan and also Tim, who is also part of the development team. Yeah, they really did a great job.
Well, they're mentors for a reason, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, and in terms of porting that on-prem solution, let's say it was already built on BTP, so that was the beauty of this all.
Mm-hmm.
It was already using SAP Cloud Application Programming Model, so CAP. So shifting towards multi-tenancy was quite simple, because you basically have to, and that's the beauty of CAP, you just plug and play the multi-tenancy layer on underneath it.
So you just take an existing CAP application and you tell it to be multi-tenant, and that pops your uncle. That's it.
Exactly. Actually, each of our solutions are developed in a single tenant way, and they only become multi-tenant when they are deployed on BTP.
Ooh.
So that sounds like even I can do that.
But you are always using Joule for consultants.
Joule for developers.
Oh, Joule for developers.
and for consultants, by the way.
Yeah.
But you did as well, right? I saw that in your blog. You blogged on the community site, and I think it's about a year ago you wrote down your first experiences with Joule for developers.
Yeah, due to the fact that I'm part of the SAP mentors, I was able to participate in actually the beta program before it was actually launched, to already give some early insights and some feedback towards the product management and
you
product
did
teams.
That stuff before it was sexy.
Yeah,
Oh.
we did.
Just before pre-beta.
Well, and that's when I was like, okay, I have the opportunity to already test this before release. I want to give something back to you as well. Let me create a set of introductory blocks on how to use this new.
We can link to that in the show notes. Yeah.
Oh, and how? What are the experiences like? Did you like it?
Well,
did it actually improve your productivity, as it claims?
For me, it definitely works. In the early stages, it was a little bit rudimentary.
You can just be honest. If it sucks, then you can also say that.
No. Today, no, I will not say definitely. It's actually, I was quite amazed by the initial functionality already. So I was like, okay, let me create a simple application, as I described in the blog. And actually, without any hassle, it generated a application with the things that I had in mind. So I was like, oh, this is okay. But then if you dive into a little bit deeper and you wanted to make changes to the already generated code, that was not working in the beginning.
Okay.
So it was like, there is still room for improvement. Probably today there is still room for improvement, but I was already quite amazed
Yeah.
by what it was doing.
Is that also then, Jan, where the improvement is in? Because I see you earlier this week we also did a demo together, and then you changed the application again by prompting into Joule for developers. Is that something that has been improved last year?
It does that.
Yeah.
So you can change it. You can add your unit tests. You can change for instance, the code that you would implement before you create a certain entity or object or whatever. So there's a lot of things that you can change. You can add attributes. You can add entities later on. So yeah, I think that has definitely been solved. What it doesn't do, though, and this is, I think, why there's still software engineers necessary, is things like modularizing things. So you can keep on adding things like in a module, right? If you have a module that's, for instance, being executed before you create an entity, before you create an order, then you can, add a huge load of checks before you have that order complete, right? But at a certain point in time, that is going to exceed like thousands of pages, especially when it comes down to a sales order in SAP, right? Yeah. Which has a lot of checks and balances. And then it would be nice to be able to modularize that as well. And this is where I think software engineering still comes in as a science.
Yeah, but it's a job. It's actually a job being a software engineer.
Yeah,
but that maybe then also. Okay, this now we're talking about Joule and the blog that you wrote. We can link to that. But then going back to your multi-tenant solutions, doing good architecture, doing good work for one customer is already complicated sometimes. But they have questions and requests, and that's maybe difficult to solve with all the standard components. But then you're doing your best as a consultant. But doing that for multiple customers that you do not know yet, how are you going to do the software architecture for those kind of solutions?
Actually, it's quite similar to using or creating a application for a customer. You just have to factor in additional components like the SaaS registry service, for example, to allow you to create these subscriptions and to expose your solution as a multi-tenant solution. You have to take into account the data isolation, so you don't want in any case any data leakage between multiple subscriptions. That's also the reason why we chose the way for Cloud Foundry and HANA instead of using the ABAP multi-tenancy, because ABAP multi-tenancy is still a single table isolated by a discriminator column, the mandant.
Yeah.
So
that's from the old days.
Yeah, that's the tricky part, in my opinion, in the ABAP in ABAP Cloud for multi-tenancy, and with a HDI container and the service manager on BTP that basically already handles that strict data isolation for you.
Yeah. So all of your multi-tenant applications are built in CAP.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I think there's also a functional aspect, because and that makes it more fun, I think. When you develop an application for one customer, you develop everything they want. Now we develop an application for an indefinite number of customers, so you are very careful about which functionalities that you add from a functional perspective. So our roadmap, we have a roadmap, but it's not full of things. We really have, we question if we have a certain improvement requests. We ask our current customers if it makes sense, and then we also check on the market. Is there a need for that? Is it really worth it? So you limit your development effort in that way also.
Yeah. But if you do these kind of things, if you roll out one application to multiple customers, you always have to be very careful with things like backwards compatibility. You can't break stuff.
Absolutely.
Specifically for one customer. How do you handle those kind of things? Is it possible, for instance, if one customer approaches you and says, I'd like to have this additional field or this additional piece of functionality that will break functionality of other customers? How would you go about that?
Yeah, that's also something more technical. So I know there is a way to have customer extensibility. We try not to do it. From a maintenance perspective, it's also not ideal. And then, Geert-Jan, I will let you complete the rest of the story.
Do you have your own extensibility wizard?
Well, today, as David mentioned, we don't allow
No.
customer extensions because, as David mentioned, we also started out a little bit more than a year ago. So for us, it's also like we're still growing, we're still learning.
Yeah.
We are very stable in what we do at this point. We have technically the option to allow customer extensibility. The SAP Cloud Application Programming Model provides that extensibility framework.
Yeah.
So we can technically have a subscription deploy their own extensions on top of our solutions. Today, we try to avoid that because
Keep
Yeah.
the core clean.
one good reason, keeping the core clean, definitely. And also due to the fact that it would put an additional burden on our development team. We are a very small team,
Yeah.
and we're not in the position yet to basically say to a customer, here you can do your thing and you can develop your own code and you can maintain it and you are responsible.
That would
Today
make it
we
an
keep
on-premise
this-
solution
this
again. Yeah.
Stability in our hands, and that's what we want to do in the future as well. So we try to avoid the extensibility topic for now.
Yeah.
But I think once we see that customers are more, or internal developers are more aware of what CAP has to offer, then I think we can just say, here you go, and you can do your own extensibility.
Yeah,
solutions.
within the area
Technically.
that you define that are
Exactly.
Yeah.
Technically,
And
it's
even
there.
then, I think currently the questions that we had, they were all relevant for all customers. So we follow our own strategy, of course, is also fit to standard. So we have a custom solution, so to speak, but the idea is not to have extensibility in place. It could be possible, but let's wait and see.
Yeah, and for now you can, if multiple customers ask the same features, then you can put it
Exactly.
on the backlog and then for next release.
Yeah. Most of the features that they ask make sense, and that's why we have the roadmap. I don't think there was maybe one request that we didn't take, and that we had an alternative just by working with standard SAP functionality. So.
And so if you have those solutions, then you will probably want customers to find them. Are they offered in the SAP store, for example?
Yes. So our SaaS solutions, together with our automation templates, we also have 2 templates built on SAP Build Process Automation. They are available in the SAP store, and they are also in the Value Chain store. We have a separate store on our website. Why do we have an extra store? It's just because we have more than the SaaS solutions and the process automations that reach the SAP store, so to speak. So we also have connectors. We have analytic solutions that don't really are allowed to be published on the SAP store.
Okay. And then if we click in the store, then one day later I have the solution working, right?
Not yet.
No, but it's amazing that you have a solution and that within one day you can offer it working to a customer, and that you build it, that you thought of architecture, and is the architecture then similar for the 3 solutions that you have in place now? Because that would also help in maintaining your solutions.
Yeah, in general, I think the 3 solutions that we have in multi-tenancy basically are in essence the same from an architectural point of view, for some small exceptions. For example, our supplier invoice management solution uses document information extraction, the premium edition already, which is not relevant for the other solutions. We already use, for example, also SAP Correa for generative AI in our supplier invoice management solution, but don't use it yet in the other one. So there's slight difference, but in the base layer of these solutions, everything is basically the same.
Yeah. Now AI is the magic word right now. Huh? So how did you implement AI in your invoice management solution?
Well, it's actually one, let's call it simple use case that we try to implement, or that we have implemented, since our solution is basically reading out an inbox, taking that email into our solution, checking for attachments. If there is an attachment, it goes to document information extraction. There are some exceptions. Some suppliers send you an email with a link to an invoice. And if that link is in that email, we just ask an LLM, check this email. We didn't find an attachment, so check this email for a invoice download link. Provide me with that link, and underneath the hood, we go and grab that attachment, attach it to the email in our solution, and put it into document information extraction.
Yeah, great idea. Yeah,
And that's the AI core case or core AI case. The other case, actually, by using document information extraction, the premium edition, and that's also one of the differentiators of our solution. Our customers don't have to annotate anymore. So the mail comes in. All other solutions today, you have the PDF with annotation. You have to say, okay, this PO number is right, and then the model gets trained.
Yeah.
But now, thanks to this premium AI-based edition, we don't annotate anything anymore. Geert-Jan added some prompts in the standard model of SAP, and you win a lot of time per invoice. Actually, no more templates, no more annotation, and that's really a huge time win. Yeah.
Is it always right?
No,
it's not always right, and it doesn't have to be. It's an accelerator. It's not perfection, and that's the thing with AI. It can be perfect, but it can also be very wrong. So
okay. Yeah.
It's HANA Café Nederland with your hosts, Jan and Twan.
You talked about your solutions, and you just mentioned also process automation, and earlier we had Jana, of course, also as a visitor from in our cafe talking about robotic process automation. So I know you all were all from the Next Level Build program that you were in as the value chain, and how did things happen after the internal competition of nice solutions to build on SAP Build?
Yeah, actually, this Next Level program, and thanks for having us in the past. It was with Sohail, Vivian also. That really triggered us about, that was actually the basis, I think. We started with having these use cases that was on build apps and build process automation in the past. That made us think further than that. How do we have to build these solutions? How do we do this architecture? And then now with the complete business AI thing that is omnipresent everywhere in the world, within SAP, but also within the partners. We are still actively working in that program between brackets.
What is this program? Next Level? Sounds good, but what is this program? Who is owning that?
Sohail is owning it.
How can I sign up?
A partner can sign up.
Right,
so its program is started to really promote the adoption of SAP Build process automation and apps within partners, and then later on AI came into that, and it was really facilitating partners. Hey, this is how you. We teach them. We provided workshops and learnings to partners, and then we also did this one day sort of hackathon, or not a hackathon, but at least a brain. You did a brainstorm and you developed solutions, and then we did with the jury, and we evaluated all the solutions that you came up with, and then chose a winner, and then supported the adoption of new technology within partners. And the value chain, you were one of the first, I guess.
I think we were actually the first that were graduated, or how do you call it? And it was in the past we had a dedicated team run by Kenny Matthijs that was specifically focused on process automation. And that was kind of the foundation to go to the next step, the next level, actually. But it helped us a lot, and it made us think a lot about, okay, the solutions that we are building now in this process automation way of architecture. Does it make sense? Is it scalable or not? And now we started thinking about it, and Geert-Jan, as our innovation and architect, he came with the multi-tenant idea. And the Next Level program now with AI, we're still having contact, so to speak, less with Sohail, unfortunately. But we're still following everything up quite in detail.
So it evolved. The program evolved from only business
build
process automation into now all other AI functionality.
The business
AI, or
business
is
AI,
it specifically Joule?
It's not specifically tied to Joule but it's also like Correa. So it's the whole business AI suite that SAP has to offer that you can basically touch in the program.
For what I know is that stuff has not been released yet. Do you have something to tell us, Geert-Jan?
Oh.
Now you're talking about Joule Studio, I think. That's being released this month, actually. I think it was announced during Sapphire, and we will be participating due to that program again in the beta program for the agentic AI functionality of Joule that will be released end of this year.
Oh, so that's cool. So besides just having an educational program to find out the latest and greatest that's coming from SAP, they even reveal what's coming up.
The early insights. So
and you get to play with it.
We get to play with it. We already get to give feedback, and we can all work together to basically give your customers and our customers the best experience in these new solutions.
So if the NDA is done, then we can invite you back to the podcast, and then we can ask you all the details.
Maybe end of this year.
Yeah, it will be great. Yeah.
The interesting thing also about this Joule Studio, and that's a case that Geert-Jan applied to the Lighthouse program.
What's the Lighthouse program?
Thank you.
I get all new terminology.
Can I mention that? Think so, yes. So it's maybe you can describe the program, but let me first finish the Joule thing. So Geert-Jan, he applied on with our supplier invoice management solution by leveraging Joule, also custom agent for Joule on our solution. So that's also coming. That's for us. That's really great to be able to use these functionalities in our own partner solutions. Actually,
so you've Joule enabled your solutions basically.
It will be.
That's the idea for actually between now and September, if I'm not mistaken. So the program is running from now to September. And the idea behind the Lighthouse program is like it's an executive sponsored program by SAP where some of the use cases can or will be selected to be on stage, for example, at Tagged.
Wow, so we're talking to the folks that are going to be on stage.
We hope so.
This is already preliminary applause. But it's great that your solution has been selected for that. Congratulations.
We're really looking forward to really embed this use case because, like, for example, what David mentioned, today we really have to help our customers with some questions that are actually documented.
Yeah.
And one of the use cases with Joule Studio would be to allow our customers to ask Joule questions and get feedback from our actual documentation.
Concretely, if you were talking about an invoice solution just now, can I ask Joule, for instance, to tell me which are the fraudulent invoices? That sort of thing? Is that what I should be thinking of? Or latest
Which are the what?
the fraudulent invoices?
Fraud detection is one of the things in the solution that's on our roadmap as well. But the use cases that we applied for were mainly like, for example, the documentation part. That's for me the most important one because a user typically has a question, something is not working or he doesn't know what's happening.
Yeah.
Ask a question, point me to the right pages in the documentation or give me at least an answer. But we also have some functionality like, for example, give me a status of how many invoices that still need to be processed manually. So you have this OCR component that gives you feedback. You get this invoice partially or fully filled in a screen, and the user still has to verify that it's okay.
That's interesting because that's also sort of same route with WalkMe. So did you can support your end user to how to use this specific functionality or what button to click next or what field to enter, which is I think where SAP or we are positioning WalkMe. But you can of course also ask Joule to do so. Then we have a similar route to solution.
I'm not into the details of WalkMe yet, but I think that's something we also have to think about for in the future. As during Sapphire, it was announced that Joule will be everywhere.
Yeah.
So Joule will be embedded in basically any cloud solution that you are using,
Including yours.
including ours.
Yeah.
So I think that's something we definitely have to dive into. Today we don't have, or at least I don't have the experience with
No.
with Wallé.
Oh, but then just like with the
Sounds like
technical components, that you have multiple components that can do similar things. On the architecture level, there is not one way to realize to support your end user.
That sounds like presidential features. to have guidance on, what a button does before you actually press the button. It's not like you push the button. It's like you get information first on what it does.
You mean that some presidents
Very
should
important
have
for
more
presidents.
advice? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But there are multiple ways. How you say to roam? It's Dutch, isn't also an English saying. I'm not sure, but yeah. Okay.
I think you mentioned something. There's never one way to roam.
Exactly. That's the beauty of BTP. You have a lot of components, and a use case can basically be implemented in multiple ways. It's just a matter of architecting the most efficient way based on maybe the existing landscape of a customer.
I found something that you said during lunch. Either one of you, very interesting as well. That you're sometimes thinking of rebuilding things that you've built with process automation before, with specifically with robots and stuff, into something that is more integration based, API based. Is that what you meant? That you have multiple ways to go to Rome, that you first pick one of the routes, and then later on decide that you would like to have the other one?
Yeah, I think...
It was this was your tough
This
question.
Yeah,
is
okay.
your stuff question.
Well, I think in terms of the... what was mentioned during lunch is that you have to always consider which solution to use when. So SAP build process automation, in my opinion, is typically involved when an end user has to take an action. But if you can create an automation where there's no end user interaction and you have integration suite, then in my opinion, it belongs into integration suite. And it can be that you have like parts built in integration suite that you can easily reuse in other flows in the end, connected to, for example, process automation, if there is a user involvement in a workflow type of way, for example.
That's also one of the things where we really evolved and we had some lessons learned also as a partner. So in the past we had this automation offering, but now with BTP becoming, it is already really the innovation platform that we use for basically all innovation and technical requirement fulfilling. There's a requirement coming in, and we're looking at it from a helicopter point of view. What should be the best solution? And the automation solution that that you are talking about in your question, that was from a technical point of view quite okay, but from a functional and process point of view, it didn't really fit the requirement, because an invoice, a supplier invoice, it needs to come in. You need to book it directly. The automation solution, it works with workflow tasks, etc. So it was not the correct solution for filling up that requirement, and that's why we rethought that solution, and it's just a learning journey that we did.
Yeah, and continuous improvement, I suppose.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
But it's a good thing.
Let's go to the SB event calendar.
Jan,
Twan.
maybe we can chop this one in two or three or four episodes of this podcast.
Yeah, so many questions.
Yeah.
So many tough questions as well. But let's go to the event calendar.
Yeah, you want?
Yes.
Yeah, is that okay with you?
Yeah.
Maybe then for okay, because I think there is an important event to mention. You already mentioned Sapphire, but that is in the past. But there is also something coming up in Brussels. No, not in Brussels. I'm not
it's
sure.
in
Belgium. Mechelen. Yeah. Maybe you can. Take the stage.
SAP Inside Track on Saturday, 20th of September, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
It will be hosted this year at Amista.
Okay.
They have a new office, and they offered to have us over for a Saturday filled with innovation.
Yeah.
Before it's decorated or after it's decorated?
I'm
You have to
assuming it
decorate it
will
yourself.
be decorated.
Yeah, you remember that with SITNL, we once
we
had this
did.
empty building and that we had to decorate it ourselves. Ooh.
There was nothing.
Yeah, that was interesting. Yeah.
So we had to set up the chairs, and we wanted to make it a bit cozy, so we got plants in and
Yeah.
that sorts of things. we
Everything.
had to look into things like projectors and screens and all that kind of stuff.
But
An interesting challenge.
let's talk about SAP Intertech Belgium, 20th of
Yeah.
September. So is the agenda already full?
The agenda is not yet full, so there is a call for speakers. So everyone that's listening, I would say,
I will
on
link
and,
it in the show notes that people can click and they say, hey, I like to share a story. Is there a topic? Is there a theme, or what
There's
what
no
kind of
specific-
speakers are you looking for?
everything is mentioned in the
Okay.
in the call for speakers, but it's a very broad event. So there's no like very specific topic we're focusing on. Of course, it's technology related.
So it's not about success factors.
Typically
be.
technology related, but
Could
in
add
the
on-
end
on,
there is
yeah.
no limitation
Oh, okay.
on what
Yeah.
you want to.
But you bring the community together in Mechelen.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
Bringing back or bringing together the
Great
Belgian
initiative.
and
Great initiative. Yeah. I think then looking a little bit further, then we have TechEd somewhere, and let me get my list. 4, 5, and 6 of November, we have the SAP TechEd in Berlin. Finally, again.
How you going, guys?
I'm hoping to go. Yeah,
Yes.
I already marked my calendar, so
Yeah.
I will be there.
Yeah, we hope to be there as well. Let's bring our podcast equipment and then create some content over there as well. And then I think we also have an announcement, Jan.
Yes, the announcement of the SAP Inside Track the Netherlands.
Yeah.
It's going to happen.
Yeah.
In November.
Yeah.
The end of the November to be
29. The 29th of November, we will have our
precise. On a
15th,
Saturday. Yep.
the 15th episode of SITNL, as we call it.
Congratulations.
Yeah, that was-
So
I was trying to
jubileum.
bring suspense into this
oh,
before you
don't
gave
have
it away.
sorry.
You don't have a tune for that?
No.
Oh.
This one.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, but then also a community event in the Netherlands, and last year you presented
Will
also
be back.
about multi-tenant solutions.
We'll be back this year.
Will be great. Yeah. So a lot of nice events coming up, and so you still think of this question? Do you still want to ask a question? Difficult question to Geert-Jan? And
Didn't I? Didn't I
but
already?
you said you had multiple questions.
Oh yeah, so many questions.
Is he allowed to ask one more question?
No, the time is up.
The time is up. Yeah, we have to go home. Yeah. No.
These guys are consultants, right? So they go by the hour.
Oh yeah. Okay. All right. No, but then thank you very much for joining us in today's episode of Hana Café. And,
Thank you for having us.
and,
Really.
but
Yeah.
now you're going to take the stage probably at TechEd or Sapphire next year. Then I don't think you will join us. Then we will join you in the next episode of. Then we will visit you and record something about your new solutions. It was great to hear your stories about SaaSing your solutions, using Joule for developers, and the Next Never Build program, and also using AI. And it was interesting. Thanks very much. And thank you, Jan.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
But also, dear listener, thank you for joining in today to listen to our podcast or tuning in live on YouTube. Thank you very much, and see you next time.
And that's a wrap for this episode of Hana Café Nederland. Jan and Tom loved having you here. Drop us a line if you have any thoughts or want to be on the show. We'll be back soon with more SAP goodness. Don't forget to like and subscribe. See you next time.